A local journalist and known author hits it big and then pays it forward to D.C. students.
And two enterprising women turn every parent's nightmare into a thriving area business.
All of that and much more coming up on this edition of We Are Washington. Welcome to We Are Washington. Coming up, we'll join the author of The Butler as he inspires area students with his story of overcoming the odds.
And we'll hear from two women affectionately known as the Lice Ladies, who've built a successful business fighting lice and battling the stigma associated with the contagious pest. But first, here's the news rundown.
A series of lively performances, presentations, and remarks by students and educators are featured as part of this year's State of D.C. Public Schools event. The annual gathering is a chance for families and educators to come together and discuss the current state of D.C.'s public school system, as well as its direction moving forward. This year's event is hosted by the newly renovated Roosevelt High School. Student groups such as the Eastern High School Choir, the Columbia Heights Jazz Band, and others performed. Interim Chancellor John Davis closed the event with his remarks.
DCPS is the fastest growing urban school district. We've got increased graduation rates. Our NAEP scores have gone up. Attendance has gone up. Truancy is down. All those statistics are wonderful. We have to watch those statistics. They give us kind of a pulse as to where we are. But it is not what gets me up in the morning. It is not what gets up great educators, great teachers. It is working with children. It is the great, great programs that we have.
President Obama is giving praise to D.C. public schools. During a visit to Benjamin Banneker High School, Mayor Muriel Bowser joined the president as he applauded schools across the country for another year of rising graduation rates. This year reaching 83%, according to federal data on schools released in October. D.C. public schools are following the national trend, increasing the number of students graduating on time with a diploma by almost 5% between 2015 and 2016.
The D.C. Council is considering a bill that provides free legal counsel to low-income tenants in certain housing cases. The legislation creates a funding stream for the D.C. Bar Foundation, a nonprofit that provides legal aid to D.C. residents. The kinds of housing cases covered include evictions, housing code violations, and rental subsidy issues. The bill was written by Ward 5 Council member Kenya McDuffie.
The United Way of the National Capital Area held its second annual Project Homeless Connect.
The goal of the event is to offer a one-stop shop of critical services for the region's homeless population. The event brought together dozens of local services from haircuts to medical support to help the area's homeless population living in shelters or on the streets.
What the United Way and what the providers here today have done is to say, meanwhile, there are a lot of people who need help now. Y'all figured out we're here to help real people get real services. I love you all for it. Thank you.
The world's largest international conference on art and social change found its way to D.C. The Creative Times Summit D.C. Occupy the Future was held at the Lincoln Theater. Organizers say the three-day event is designed to give artists a platform to collectively consider what it means to radically transform the current state of democracy.
The work of artists and activists will continue to question our politicians, our practices, and our policies, and we will continue to work and fight for a more just and equitable societies.
The Greater Washington Hispanic Chamber of Commerce held its Hispanic Heritage Celebration. The Assistant Secretary of HUD, Gustavo Velasquez, was honored at the event. Velasquez received the Chairman's Award for his service to the D.C. community and his inspiring success story. He previously served as the Executive Director of the Latino Economic Development Center here in D.C.
Encouraging biking in the district is one of the goals of a new law signed by Mayor Muriel Bowser. The Motor Vehicle Collision Recovery Act of 2016 enables pedestrians and cyclists to recover up to 100% of their losses from medical bills and property damages if they are found to be up to 50% at fault for a collision with a motor vehicle. The Washington Area Bicyclist Association, or WABA, has been advocating for the legislation for a couple of years. They say it's an important step toward protecting crash victims. The law is part of the mayor's Vision Zero initiative, which aims to make the district safer for pedestrians and cyclists.
Because of WABA's advocacy all those years ago, and a lot of WABA directors have been focused on this, we have made the case to public officials and to the public that biking is great for recreation, but it is also a viable commute option. And when we think about where our city is right now, we know that we can't just have car-only options, that we have to make our network support everybody, and we need more people riding their bikes.
How would you like to safely swim in the Anacostia River? Mayor Muriel Bowser joined local leaders from Prince George's County and Montgomery County to sign the Anacostia River Accord. The signing of the accord reflects renewed multi-jurisdictional commitment to removing trash from the river and its watershed in hopes that one day residents might be able to enjoy the river for fishing and swimming.
There's been leadership over the years, but this recommitment of coming together to show that the Anacostia River is a contributing asset for all of us. And it has been very important working together on behalf of the river, and we're able to get a lot more done.
A powerful photo series is now on display in a big way at Union Market. Local artist Brian Summers calls his series "We Love You, African American Men." The goal of the project is to reshape negative images of black men. Summers describes the photo series as a simple but powerful reassurance to black boys and men that the community loves and supports them. To learn more or to see some of the exhibit, visit WeLoveYouProject.com. And it's very interesting, very cool that that's set up just down the street from us here.
Oh, yeah, I know. It's such an added bonus when we go to Union Market. We get to see this great project.
Nice. And people who go there to visit, to, the shop or to get something to eat, to be able to walk by and see this set up, it's kind of a nice thing. You get to check this out as you're down there, too.
And one thing I enjoyed hearing about was that the artist, one of the faces on the wall, is that of the artist's father,
really?
which I thought was really nice.
Oh, that's real. That's
it's an amazing, what such a simple idea can make such a powerful statement.
Right.
Really nice.
Yeah, it is powerful. So interesting to see. You'll have to check that out. But don't go anywhere, because coming up, we'll show you how the author of The Butler is inspiring local students. So don't go away.
Long before writing the book The Butler, based on the life of longtime White House butler Eugene Allen, Will Haygood was inspired to become a writer when he met his first author when he was in college. Now Mr. Haygood is giving English students at Cardozo High School that same opportunity.
Thanks to Penn Faulkner's Writers in Schools program, Cardozo students had the chance to meet him and ask him about his experiences becoming a writer. Now courtesy of DKN's Education Avenue series, here's their meeting. These English students at Cardozo High School are getting a rare opportunity. As part of the Penn Faulkner Writers in Schools program, students are first reading the book The Butler in class. And today, they're meeting its author, Will Haygood.
My whole life has jump-started, I think from the junior high school on when I fell in love with books and writing.
He's hoping his visit helps inspire other young people who are like him at an early age.
Thank you.
The book, The Butler, began as an article Haygood wrote for the Washington Post, recounting the story of an African-American White House butler named Eugene Allen. Allen served 6 presidents. Long after his retirement, he and his wife told Haygood they looked forward to casting their votes for the first African-American to occupy the White House, Barack Obama.
They'd gone over their election day plans more than once. Jean woke and nudged her once. Then again, he shuffled around to her side of the bed. He nudged Helene, his wife, again. He was all alone. I woke up and my wife didn't, he said later.
Words read from pages in class take on a new depth and feeling when expressed firsthand from the author himself. Opening the floodgates of questions students have about topics ranging from interviewing the Allens to turning his book into a movie.
Can you talk about the feelings that you went through or that you may have experienced by seeing your work, your baby, being altered?
Yes, sir, right here.
How long does it take to write a book?
He asked me how long does it take me to write a book. It varies. I wrote a book about the boxer, Sugar Ray Robinson.
One of the questions that I had was how, why the movie had different characters than the book.
Having a conversation about his life's work is a benefit to Will Haygood as much as it is to these English students.
Not only do they remind me of myself when I was in junior high, high school, they also give me inspiration to keep going, because these are going to be future writers and artists and doctors and lawyers.
I never met an author until I started teaching. And our students get a chance to meet an author, read the author's work, and then listen to the real person who wrote the words. And I think that's the benefit from it.
Pairing the writer with his words connects the students with the experiences they're reading about, making The Butler more than just another book assigned for a grade.
It was interesting, and I really liked the book.
Pretty much I was so much connected because we've read the book in class, I've watched the movie, so I really feel so awesome.
The things that make civilization keep humming, and that's hope and encouragement. And if I can offer them a little encouragement, then I'm honored to do so.
What a great opportunity for these kids to actually meet with an author in person that they've been reading and learning about.
Right, and Will told some really great stories to the class when he was there. They had the chance to read the book, see the movie. They also read the Washington Post article, which was something that the book was based off of before it became a book and a movie. So he did that, but he also took the time to talk about what his experiences were growing up and how he became an author. He kind of did later in life. He had other jobs and meandered his way to that path. And I think that's so important for kids that age to hear, and students like that
for everyone to hear that,
right.
That it's not just one, direct path to success, that sometimes there's a lot of detours along the way, and to just keep at it.
Absolutely, and I think a lot of times too, when you see somebody who's successful at something you might want to do, it's tough to see how you could get there, but to hear those experiences firsthand and to see what he's been through and what he's done, I think that was important for them, and a very cool experience. So yeah, a neat thing for them to be able to do, definitely.
Yeah, such an inspiration. And now we're going to kind of shift gears here to something entirely different. But I love this story because this is about people who have really turned lemons into lemonade. And we're going to introduce you to the Lice Ladies. I named them the Lice Ladies, but they have built a company that's based on helping area families with the dreaded pest that leaves everyone scratching their heads. Stay with us. Welcome back to We Are Washington Week in Review. Most parents love this time of year. Kids are back at school, settling into their fall routines. But there's one thing everyone dreads, and that's a letter home letting you know that some child in your kid's class has lice. Just hearing that makes most people scratch their heads. And to make matters worse, today's lice are even more resistant to treatment. But not to worry, two enterprising women are here to help fight the lice. In fact, they've taken this parent's nightmare and turned it into a thriving business. Take a look. So I have to say, I love the name of your company, Lice Happens. Very simple, direct. Tell me, what was the inspiration for your business?
Well, lice happens, and it sure does. And it happened to my family. My niece and nephew, back in the winter of 2008, contracted head lice, and my sister basically approached it in a very typical manner that most parents approach head lice infestations. And that was to go to the local drugstore, get the over-the-counter product. She went to the internet, printed out a page and a half of things, what to do to the house, what to do to the head, and commenced treating head lice. And she was ineffective, even though she was doing all sorts of things to the heads in the house. And she got me involved, and I saw that she pretty much epitomized the typical response experience and lack of efficacy as most parents do. And I felt that there's got to be a better way, there's got to be a better process. And that was the inspiration for Lice Happens.
And you sure were right about that. And I know that one thing that's really interesting about your company is that you go to people's homes, and I'm sure that's really nice because there does seem to be still a lot of stigma surrounding lice.
Yeah, there is still a lot of stigma. It's funny because one of the things parents ask on the phone is, does your car have a sign on it? And we say no, we're very discreet. But lice has the stigma of lower socioeconomic or a dirty house, your children aren't clean. So our motto is no shame, no blame, and we teach everyone that there is no shame associated with head lice.
Yeah, I was very happy to learn both my kids have had lice. I will come out and admit that, and it was very difficult to treat, but also I was relieved to learn that sometimes, lice do like clean hair, that's actually a more hospitable environment for lice. So I felt a little bit better about that. But tell me, what you talked about your sister, but in general, so what are the typical parents that come to you for help?
Well, a typical parent has already been there, done that, very similar to my sister's experience. And they've extinguished all means of being able to eradicate head lice. So at this point, they're exhausted, they're frustrated, and they're very confused because they've tried so many different things and they have gotten a lot of different messages. So they come to us kind of as a last resort often. And what our service does is to actually have one of our employees, a specialist, come to their home. They'll accurately screen all family members, and then we treat by doing a thorough manual combing using a safe pesticide-free product. But a big part of our service is that because of the misinformation that's out there, as subject matter experts, we will go over the facts of lice with the parents, and then we'll actually give them hands-on training so that they can accurately screen their children going forward and get a sense of control back in the home.
And because it does seem that in recent years, lice has become much harder to treat, because it used to be that you could go and get an over-the-counter treatment and it would work pretty well after just one treatment. And what's changed?
Well, now you hear the term super lice, and there is a genetic mutation among the lice, and they have built up a resistance to the over-the-counter products. So just using that anymore does not take care of the infestation.
Okay, so that's super scary. And we know that everybody is, back to school, and everybody will probably at one time get that dreaded letter that says someone, in the class or the grade has lice, and so check your kid's head. But I will say, that's not such an easy thing to do. And so what should parents look for when they're concerned that their kid might have lice?
So one of the things a parent might look for is just signs of head lice. Often head lice is associated with itchiness, but not all the time, so that certainly is something that parents can be alert to, because they're usually thinking, oh, I thought it was a different shampoo they were using, a different detergent. So don't ignore the signs of itchiness. The other thing is that if they actually will check their children's hair, we recommend doing that on a weekly basis. And we do provide, on our website, we do provide pictures of the different stages of head lice, nits, nymphs, and lice. So if a parent is kind of confused, they don't know what they're looking for, they can go to our website and see, and then compare what they're seeing or not seeing in their children's head.
And I know you guys actually have some special tools of the trade to make it easier when you do go in and treat somebody for lice. So can you tell me about the tools you use to make sure that you're actually eradicating the problem?
Well, first thing is we put on this headgear so we can see. Then we use a non-toxic pesticide-free foam, and we use that. We apply that to the hair, and what that does is it breaks down the knit glue, so it just enables our combing a little bit easier, and we do meticulous combing.
And I know that everybody watching this is at home starting to scratch their heads, because you can't talk about lice without feeling very itchy. So I'm curious, you're dealing with this stuff all the time. How do you make sure that you're not constantly getting lice?
Well, how head lice are transferred from one person to the other is actually through direct hair-to-hair contact. Head lice need a bridge to cross over from one head to the other. So as long as we're not engaging in direct hair-to-hair contact with our clients, we're not at risk.
Okay, well, that's very good to know. And does that reassure parents? Because I know a lot of parents also are concerned when their kids have had lice that now the whole entire house, the dog has lice, the bed has lice. So that seems to be part of the myths that circulate about lice.
So one thing to remember is there's no such thing as a house or a school or a gymnasium infested with head lice. This is a human parasite. It needs to feed on the scalp blood, so it's not going to live in an environment. That's one thing that parents are always concerned about because they think it must be the school. Well, it's not. It's in the heads.
Okay. And it can hurt you. We want to emphasize that it's uncomfortable, but you know, there's no disease associated with it. So that's the good news, and you can get rid of it. And if you really need help, how can people contact you?
So people can go to our website. It's licehappens.com.
Okay, great.
And our phone number is located on the website. They can call us as well.
And lots of great information on that
Absolutely.
website as well.
Yes.
Thank you so much for helping everyone get rid of this really annoying pest. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
So here's hoping you won't deal with lice this year or ever, but if you do, remember, no shame, no blame. And that just about does it for this episode, but we do have time for one last thing. Matt, what you got for us?
Okay, one last thing. I'm going to move us off the topic of lice just for now.
We've
It was
had enough.
very
Okay.
interesting and informative, but we got to move on now. We're going to talk again about our friend Will Haygood, the author of The Butler, and his conversation with the students at Cardozo. One last thing today from his conversation that didn't make the story that we watched. He was telling the students when he was first starting out as a foreign correspondent, when he was a journalist working for newspapers back in 1990, he was actually abducted and held hostage during the conflicts there that he was covering. So really interesting to hear about from him and his perspective as somebody who was taken hostage in that sort of situation.
And that was such a scary time in Somalia in the 90s. And it's amazing when you hear something like that because I'm sure that made an impression on the students because they're thinking they have this author, he hit it big with a Butler, everything's great. And you hear about everything he's gone through. I mean, you really never know what people have experienced. And I'd like to add also for fans of his, he does have a newer book on U.S. Supreme Court Justice Thurgood Marshall.
Oh, wow.
So
Okay.
check that out if you're interested. That'll do it for us, and thanks so much for watching.
All right, thanks for spending the time with us today. We'll see you next time.